Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, Donald Trump is losing spectacularly in court, in case after case after case. In fact, he lost 3 cases in just one day this week. Let's start with the new reporting. This from Newsweek. Headline, Trump administration suffers 3 legal defeats in one day. And that article begins, judges dealt President Donald Trump's administration 3 legal defeats on Tuesday alone. Trump's agenda on various issues, including immigration, tariffs, and the restructuring of the federal government, is facing legal challenges, and judges across the country have at times sided with plaintiffs bringing these cases. Judges ruled against Trump on Tuesday in 3 separate cases surrounding his deployment of federal troops to Los Angeles, deportations, and the firing of an FTC commissioner. Deployment of federal troops to Los Angeles. Judge Charles Breyer ruled that Trump's use of the National Guard to quell protests and riots over his immigration policy in Los Angeles earlier this summer violates the Posse Comitatus Act of 1878, which bars the use of military for domestic purposes. Tren de Aragua deportations. Meanwhile, a panel of judges on the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that Trump cannot use the Alien Enemies Act to deport members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. The administration has designated Tren de Aragua as a terrorist organization and argued that there is an invasion of these groups into the United States. There is no invasion or predatory incursion that would allow the use of the Act for Deportations, the majority decision of the judges reads. Federal Trade Commission, FTC, firing. In a third loss to the Trump administration, the U.S. Court of Appeals for D.C. upheld a lower court order that Trump did not have the authority to fire FTC Commissioner Rebecca Kelly Slaughter. That's right, friends. Donald Trump and his DOJ lost 3 cases in one day. I mean, that's got to be some kind of a record. You know, before Donald Trump and his consigliere, Attorney General Pam Bondi, took over, DOJ almost never lost a case. Now, it seems like they rarely win one. But friends, let me turn to a related story about a federal magistrate judge in D.C. Federal District Court calling out the gross abuse of prosecutorial power by Donald Trump's truly horrible D.C. U.S. Attorney, former Fox host Jeanine Pirro. Here is the new reporting from the Washington Post. Headline, D.C. judge excoriates Trump policing surge, demands answers from Pirro. And that article begins, a federal magistrate judge overseeing a torrent of cases during President Donald Trump's policing surge in D.C. condemned administration officials at a hearing Thursday, saying they were trampling people's rights by overcharging them with felonies and then moving slowly to dismiss the weakest cases while the defendants languished in jail. The blistering remarks by Magistrate Judge Zia Faruqi, a former D.C. federal prosecutor, were another sign that Trump's efforts to crack down on crime in the nation's capital are meeting extraordinary resistance in the city's federal courthouse. Grand jurors have declined to issue indictments on at least 7 occasions since the surge began last month, and Judge Faruqi said federal judges would continue to push back on implausible, illegal, immoral prosecutions. Faruqi said the Trump administration's zeal to reduce crime in the nation's capital had touched off a constitutional crisis. Officials were playing cops and robbers on the streets of D.C. while the rule of law is being flushed down the toilet. Faruqi said the message being broadcast to D.C. residents by charging people with federal offenses and then moving to dismiss the charges days or weeks later, he said, is to be afraid, be very afraid of the militarized forces roaming the street. Quote, I am afraid right now, and that's not what this country is founded on, the judge said. What makes America great is the rule of law. It will not, on any of the judges in this courthouse, be broken down. Friends, Judge Faruqi knows whereof he speaks. You know how I know that? Before he was selected to be a federal magistrate judge, he was a colleague of mine. He was a federal prosecutor at the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office. He was someone universally held in high regard. He knows, he is intimately familiar with the rules, the regulations, and the laws that govern our prosecutorial practice. He's well acquainted with the ethical obligations of prosecutors, and he sees how Jeanine Pirro is violating those legal and ethical obligations, and he's telling her so. He's calling her out because to Judge Faruqi, like to us, justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe. Please stay tuned. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.